Okay, we're playing The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered today. Jeez, the PlayStation is effing loud. Oh, so we just start already playing. Wow. Never played this game before, so I have no clue what age range it be for. I also never saw the show. I'm kidding. Options. What do you mean guitar free play? So I'm going to be posting mobile things. Be here all week, people. Hopefully. Potentially. Excellent. It gives me the option to unlock. I'm gonna unlock. Just like Detroit Become Human. When I play that game, I made a point to unlock everything the second it gave me the option. Yes. It's taking too long.
You're about to play an unfinished level from The Last of Us Part 2. The reason we added this section is there are a few sequences, and we picked the 3 of the best ones, that we cut from the game. You know, often we build a game that's much bigger than what ends up being the final product. They were months away from being finished, but we wanted to give you an insight of what it's like when we built the game, because often we have this whole thing constructed and it doesn't have final art or audio or dialogue. And here you get to see the building blocks of what it's like when we first string a bunch of these levels together. This is the intro to the first deleted.
Yes, skip it. Oh yeah, yeah, just from that playing part, it's definitely higher than my usual age rating. Making
Originally,
noise.
this level was going to transition us to farm. We would go all the way through to the dance, where Ellie and Dina share their first kiss. Then we would play through farm, and when Ellie plays the guitar at night, she would remember the Seth incident. So, the opening for this was a little tricky. We needed it to match at least a little what you might expect emotionally coming from prior beats, because we were already purposefully disorienting you in time and space. Remember, you just came from this huge fight. To jump straight into it would have been a little too jarring. After some back and forth, we rooted it in Ellie's nerves, calling back to her hands shaking in the theater. But this time, for a much more innocuous reason we'll find out later. She's nervous because she has a crush on Dina, who is the only reason why she's here at dance. Something we really wanted to do was highlight the way their lives had turned upside down since she went down this path. We had this idea of recontextualizing all of our usual gameplay mechanics.
I don't actually know if this game has any like copyright music. I'm going to like turn it all the way down.
That were designed for really violent ends. The workbench, door bashes, throwable weapons, and even the infected, which is my personal favorite. Peppered throughout the level are moments of levity or shared history, all the while seeing how happy and mundane they all were before her huge revenge odyssey.
Oh, so this sort of can I try again? I didn't know how I
Is
could
not a
end.
festival without one of these throwing games. This one, of course, uses our throwable system where you're often chucking explosive things or stunning things, but for a more wholesome purpose, although some people take this game really seriously. A fun aspect of this is if you did well, you could win a toy here. Ellie would place it in her pocket. If you had done this, you'd find the toy with JJ, the baby, later back at the farm. When we cut this, the toy made it through anyway because it was so cute. It is the same one you see on the tracker at the farm. Ollie the elephant.
I don't think you're doing anything, woman.
The makeup artist is pretty simple. It's one of those little in-game scenes we peppered in to make it feel like Ellie had roots in the town. Hallie, our writer, mentioned that in her mind, an ex-girlfriend of Ellie's tattooed her arm to cover up her scar. So we figured this might be the only time you get to see that. We wanted to hint at it and allude to it and make it feel like there had been so much more that had been happening and so
Wow.
much more that Ellie threw away.
She walks so slow,
This is
jeez.
one of
Talk
my
about
favorite sections
she's
because it
going
really
Mia
managed
Winter
to use both
speed.
the slice of life aspect of Jackson while also being a stark reminder of how dark the world that they live in really is.
Literally,
To
you
attract
saw that
attention and
child.
curiosity,
These
one of the kids was supposed to
children
make this
compared to her are
adorable,
Sonic
messed up little
dashing.
clicker impression, and the others would giggle. We tried a version where if you got close enough, the kid might try and follow you a little before turning back. Since clickers are blind and move by echolocation, for this game of messed up tag, Ellie must close her eyes and listen for when the children give themselves away. The thought was that these kids are in relative safety. They still grow up with the dangers of clickers and runners, and all those lessons would embed themselves in the games that they play.
There's not
When
really
the
any
festival got
audio
cut,
besides.
they tried to preserve this moment and move it to the front of the game where the snowball fight is, as a
I
tutorial.
like it.
However, being in the headspace of a clicker
I like
doesn't
games that
really
give you like
teach
the
you how to
option to
deal
just
with
sit
that.
down, relax for a
Eventually,
second.
it evolved, and they instead made the snowball fight, which was, I think, way more effective. For me, it's character illuminating that not only does Ellie know this game, she plays along. There's a familiarity with the kids that's really nice to see, especially because it's such a
I have a
difference from
feeling
Hallie
that's
we
like
see
our
later, who has a sort of
objectives
hollow
area.
normalcy that she's trying to get with JJ, but kind of fails.
So
There's
I
a hidden
saw this
spot at
and
the
you
back that was just a bit of fun. It was highlighting Jackson's normalcy with something we would find in a real world. In the back, you would find teenagers finding some alone time with each other in a dark corner of a party. It was rewarding for
there you
them
go,
for
all of
peeking
them.
into a hidden corner, but ultimately redirecting them back to the festival. We also had versions of them smoking weed here, despite Maria's consternation,
Yeah.
probably having gotten it from Eugene.
I love games that make it a point to have like using drugs and stuff. Just play because most of the time when they do it, they'll have like the dumbest things will happen. So there's like in GTA, I'm pretty sure you're like one of the guys like alcoholic or so. Which well, Actually, I feel like all of them are labor. Besides that. So yeah, GTA. Never played. Well, technically I have played a tad bit, but not much. My Detroit Become Human skills are paying off. Of learning how I need to hit buttons at certain times. I don't know if I'm supposed to be holding down this or just plain pressing. I'm hoping it's plain pressing like rapidly because that's all I've been doing. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, or you'll die. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. What am I supposed to be doing? I probably should have listened to like the beginning thing. That probably would have helped. I was probably doing this after I played the game. Probably would help too, but.
This level, internally known as Fine Nora, was quite long in duration as we had to make Ellie traverse a far distance to the opposite side of downtown Seattle. The sewer section was originally longer than what we released the game with, approximately 10 minutes more. This was one of the few areas of the game that used water flow as part of a traversal puzzle. The player has to go upstream to use the current to get to the platform to reach the other side. We mostly cut this mechanic game-wide, however it remained in essence in the section swimming to the aquarium as Ellie when you were avoiding the waves. When players reach the doorway and enter into the room, they are faced with a dead end. The real reason for this dead-end room is that on the reversal when exiting back out of the doorway, players are faced with the route onwards. A pipe that they'd not been able to see when they were swept past it on the way in, and something that was hidden from view when
Resident Evil skills also pay off.
the intention here being that the only option is to go off the standard path in order to search for a way out.
Uh-huh.
Get me the hell out of here.
You know, what was that? How do I check like, oh, that's how. Trap mine, Molotov, stun bomb, something. I don't have any of this stuff. Ah, cool.
Throughout the rest of the level, we also used light to indicate to the player that they were heading in the right direction. At each turn, however, we blocked the direct route forward. Players would know that they just have to keep finding alternative paths, promoting those feelings of being desperate and trapped. We slowly introduced the player to consider climbing into smaller pipes and crouching in these tight spaces. This is to slowly build up to and encourage the player to climb into such a small pipe that they'd have to be crawling on their stomach, which is something that the player previously may not have recognised as a playable space, let alone the desired route they need to take.
We added a tiny space just to reward the player's exploration with a pickup item, and we made sure it was something that made sense that you'd find in this area. A canister and all the garbage that had been washed into the sewers from the surface. We loved the idea of making Ellie prone through a tiny dirty pipe in order to get out, as it was a great opportunity to use our prone mechanics. A unique camera setup was created to support crawling in these pipes, as the standard prone camera is much higher above the player. We also created custom collision in order for Ellie to manoeuvre in these tight spaces easily. Initially, the oblong collision capsule around her character caused issues crawling around corners. We put extra effort into the custom corner collisions, so in order for the player to feel cramped, claustrophobic and desperate, we'd been enforcing the traversal mechanics that allow for a tight environment which promote these feelings. We introduced the use of the squeeze through so that we can keep the player feeling enclosed and tight, but without repeating the same geometry. Here we changed
What?
from low ceilings with wider walls to high ceilings and
What
tight
was, what
walls
was
to
that
change up the
about?
spatial pacing and keep the level from repeating itself.
I'm so confused. Is there a crouch button? Uh-huh. Is there a crouch button for real though? I'm just gonna guess it. No? That Ellie get down there. Come on.
In order for the player to feel cramped, claustrophobic and desperate, we'd been enforcing the traversal mechanics that allow for a tight environment which promote these feelings. We introduced the use of the squeeze through so that we can keep the player feeling enclosed and tight, but without repeating the same geometry. Here we changed from low ceilings with wider walls to high ceilings and tight walls to change up the spatial pacing and keep the level from repeating itself.
So prevent from feeling repetitive. There. Hold down circle.
Shit, place to die.
I like this game so far. No, I'm not actually playing the game yet.
Originally, we had the waterline much higher here, so players had to swim through this tight tunnel. However, from watching user test feedback, it was occasionally causing people to discount the route entirely and turn back on themselves. So to avoid any risk of this happening in the final game, we present a lower water level so the tunnel is easy to see and commit to using. Although this isn't as impactful without the prone swim, it's the better decision as it means a smoother experience for the player with no backtracking frustration. As we surface from the
I like
water
this
and
guy.
over the crest of the slope, we reveal what is further in this tunnel. A clicker that has sprouted and fungus has grown on the sides of the pipe. It was great to see people who user tested this area becoming increasingly worried as we forced the player to squeeze past the fungus and inches away from the clicker's face, all the time not being sure whether the clicker might be alive or attack them. Although we aren't as cruel as to force a clicker attack in such close proximity, we do have a payoff for this moment. This clicker momentarily turned into Joel to show Ellie's PTSD from what happened to Joel at the start of the game. Ultimately, we decided to save this moment for the farm level, as it was more impactful there because it could become the centrepiece of that experience. Whereas in the sewers, we weren't able to make it as much of a narrative point and give it the breathing room and reaction time that it deserves, given the tight space.
Shit!
Where am I? Up now.
For the final section, we eventually opened you out into a wider area as you traverse through such tight spaces leading up to this. So changing the environmental pacing makes it begin to feel like we're coming to the end of Ellie's ordeal. An earlier iteration used the current node shown at the start for a slightly tougher traversal puzzle to conclude the sewers. The ladder was clearly visible from most of the area, but the player was faced with a fast-flowing torrent of water they couldn't cross. If the player attempted to jump into the water, they were not able to swim across the ladder due to the water's speed. So instead, they had to traverse the pipe running along the top of the space in order to get across the water.
Pretty sure it was like double tap is what Zombieland's rule was. So. Oh, that's how you flip. Use the knife. Everything. These two literally use the same ingredients. How they anything different? They're using the same exact ingredients. Nothing more, nothing less.
This is the first time we get to see stalkers that are embedded into the walls. So this optional room is a nice little early extra that the player gets if they explore. We also use the pickups to lure players over to be close enough to trigger the stalking attack. This caused quite a few jump scares with user testers who played our game before its release. Using this pipe was retained in the iteration we shipped with, as it's the last of the extreme methods Ellie has to undergo in order to escape the sewers, and what she will go through in her pursuit of revenge.
I really like this game so far.
The last ladder climb is quite lengthy, and although we could have trimmed it down to a shorter climb, we liked how this last segment of the journey built anticipation for whether there was success at the top or not after all you've been through. Ultimately, the ladder exits out into the subway station, which is how it connects in the final game. Ellie then has to find her way to the hospital from here, crossing paths with the scars for the first time.
Hmm? And finally, this one. Hope y'all are enjoying the video so far. No, this has been pretty short. I'm going to be posting
For this
a
third and
lot of
final
videos
automated
of this
level,
game.
what we call the boar hunt sequence, this was a sequence pretty late in the game. It was right after the whole
I'm
Seattle
gonna be completely
Abby
honest with
sequence
you,
where Abby
guys, that
scares Ellie.
it
And then
just
we wanted
makes
to
me
cut
think of
back
like
into Ellie's
if The
story,
Walking Dead
but
and
keep it
Resident
a bit
Evil
mysterious
had
with
like a
how
collab.
much time has passed,
And
where
that's
is
really
Ellie
all
now.
this game
So
makes
we're
me
coming
think
in
of.
on Ellie, and she's following a trail of blood. And we wanted to mirror, in a way, the deer hunt sequence from the first game, but this time do it with a boar. And there's something with Ellie
I
that
wanted to play the first
she
one
can't
for you
let go of this
guys,
file while
but
she's pursuing it, even
sadly the
against
first one
this
left PlayStation
innocent
Plus.
animal. This was another opportunity to show how the violence that Ellie has experienced, the violence that she witnessed being afflicted onto Joel, is
Jeez,
still sticking with her. And she's still experiencing these PTSD moments. This was a sequence
definitely let
that
me
was
play
pretty far
play
along.
the
It was
next
pretty
one.
late in production.
Maybe the
Parts
next
of it are
time
still really rough,
the
but the
next time it's
gameplay, the
ready, I'm
building blocks
definitely
are
gonna
all
play
there. I think
play
you'll
the
have fun to
next.
see, like again, a rough, unfinished sequence that you can play. You can see all the way to the end, and including a cinematic that we end up cutting.
I
And the
should
remnants
watch
of the
Last
sequence
of
end
Us
up
actual
being
TV
mentioned
show.
in Ellie's journal.
But
So the story,
I'm pretty
the
sure that's
story that we
only in
wrote,
like on like
still made its way.
Netflix. If it's in Prime Video, I'll definitely watch it. I forgot I could
So the
skip.
boar hunt was one of the hardest levels for me to work on. It was a huge challenge with the systems that we had, and we kept trying, but it never felt quite right. Originally, the level happened after the Jackson Festival, which also got cut, but before Farm. Once the festival got cut, it became the prologue to Farm. The intended experience is that we jump forward in time after the fight with Abby in the theater. We don't know where Dina is. We likely assume she's dead because she was just bleeding out. Ellie is alone. Her hair is short. So maybe this is the future or the present. And she's hunting. Hunting who? Abby still?
Still trying to use the controls. I'm definitely going to see what level of like customization I can do for like controls and stuff. How it currently is a no go for me. It's one of those games like you have to if you hold down you have to hold down certain things to make stuff run.
In early iterations of the fight, it was more arena-like. The player slowly whittles down the boar's health. Ellie gets more visceral and more vicious. We get a little worried about her. As the boar gets weaker, more panicked, more feral, and we start feeling sympathetic to the boar, was the hope. In all of these iterations, especially of these wider areas, it required custom AI and scripting to make sure it continued to feel organic as an animal, but we really needed it to do specific stuff. It needed to be able to close distances really, really quickly. It needed to charge to attack, but we wanted the feeling of hunting, so we needed to track it down from afar. And we also needed to discourage the player from attacking the boar when it's that close, or it would kind of turn into this melee kerfuffle. How do we do this in our world while keeping the boar believable? We must have gone through 5 or 6 iterations of the boar fight and all, and every single time it changed pretty drastically. We split it into clear phases, where one was like all long range. We tried another where you're getting close and you get the jump on it quite literally. You're jumping off of a rock to attack it. And then finally, we tried a bunch where you almost sort of go around a bunch of trailers and try and wrestle it. We uncovered after some time that taking down a boar over several phases felt very laborious and a little dramatic. It was comically long, it felt too boss-like, a little too gamey. We decided to cut the first few phases, and we opted for a cold open after the boar had already been hurt off screen. So that allowed us to focus on feeling like we're closing in on prey and to introduce the boar when it was at its most dangerous. Already hurt, already feral, much too close for comfort. And so the thinking was it would bring us more into Ellie's mindset. Is this really hunting for food, or is she hunting for some other reason? The gas station was built to highlight the bore's destructiveness. Since it's cramped, the bore feels larger. We also feel trapped with it, or perhaps it's trapped with us. When it charges, it gets to us quickly, so we must be on our toes. This made it more aligned with Ellie's sort of hunting for trouble mindset. Listening became more important, as well as moving around slowly so it didn't hear you. Could you spot it before it saw or heard you? And could you get a shot off quickly enough so you could dodge out of the way? Or is the shot worth the cost after? It feels like a gamble. By the end of the fight, everything would likely change. The boar would burst through the back, and Ellie would follow it and finally enact revenge.
Nowhere to run.
The boar kill was supposed to be anything but glorious. With the boar whimpering at the back of the gas station after Ellie's relentless hunt. After this, hearing the drone that we kind of come to associate with Ellie's trauma, we would hard cut to the stream.
Yeah, these are just documentaries. Probably should read more. Okay, I'm gonna post these two videos. See y'all when I post actual me playing.